And the part that really catches me is that God is listening to our concern, our little problem, our little concern, and He hears it and He recognizes the truth of it and He says, "You're right." Hello and welcome to my three thought video. My name is Alec Gonzales. I'm a life coach and spiritual director for pastors and leaders in the local church. And what they were saying was there were some young women who were daughters of a tribe, and they were the only descendants of a tribe. And they thought that it wasn't fair that, they couldn't inherit the land. And so they went to God, they went to Moses. Moses went to God and said, "Hey, we want to inherit the land." But then the brothers, other family members in the tribe complained or brought to Moses the possibility that these sisters could marry outside the tribe and that the ancestral land would be then given away to another tribe. And God and Moses both heard this concern and said, "You're right, and your concern is right, and we're going to do something about it." And the part that really catches me is that God is listening to our concern, our little problem, our little concern, and He hears it and He recognizes the truth of it and He says, "You're right." And I just think that that is such a sweet uh, reality, that God is listening to our concerns and cares that what we think is a concern of ours, and He turns around and says, "What you're concerned about is right." I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and I was saying, "Hey, why don't you pray about that?" And he said, "I don't know if God's really concerned about that." And I said, "God is concerned about every little thing, man. I pray about where my golf ball is when I can't find it." And just this reality that God is listening to our concerns and will side with us when it's correct. If I've lost my keys, it's no problem for God to help me figure it out, and He knows where they are. And finding my keys is a concern. It's a real concern. I can't drive my car. I have a car, but I can't drive it without it finding my keys, and so on. So I just think that it's really interesting that God is listening to the concerns of men, and when they come out, He's like, "Yeah, that's cool. Well, let's deal with that." I just think that is an amazing reality about God. And this whole thing is after Babylon is brought down. Babylon's very proud, they're world power, they're the world power. And God says, "I'm going to judge you because of your pride and your arrogance and your ruthlessness." And at the end of the day, all of the land is rejoicing at the reality that this cruel, wicked a nation who's been used by God as a club is brought low, and all the lands rejoice. Right, the trees are grateful that there's no woodsman coming, and the land is at rest and at peace and singing. And I just think this is a lovely reality that when judgment, justice, and good government happens, the land actually rejoices. The trees and the land and the singing. It's just it reminds me of a Disney movie, right? I mean, it's just happiness and goodness when there's good government, when there's righteous government, and when the wicked are brought down. I just really love this. Jesus is speaking to his sheep, and we can hear him and we understand his voice. Later, it goes on to say that, others who are speaking, we run away from their voice because we don't recognize it. But there is a practice of learning to hear the voice of Jesus, being sensitive and aware that he's speaking. And the other idea that I thought that was really lovely was that Jesus goes out in front and calls, to his sheep, and we follow Jesus because we hear and recognize his voice. The other thing that I love is that he calls us by name. That's a new practice that I'm going to start listening for Jesus calling my name. My name's Alec. I like to hear my name. And I'm going to start as a practice to begin to listen for Jesus calling my name and being aware of his calling, of his voice. That's all for today. That's my 3 thought video.